Grace. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is fun. It's kind of like part two
Yeah.
of a conversation we started just for exactly this day. Well, not exactly. We're pre-recording this, folks. So, but for those listening, today we're commemorating Juneteenth, and we kind of began this conversation last year. We've talked before this, and just to kind of prep for this conversation, and you asked me a question that was a really important one. And you asked, what have you guys been doing since we last spoke? And I have to say that question has stuck with me since you asked it, because it did make me pause and think, well, what have we been doing? Like, we do need to take inventory here. And so we had a discussion about what I thought we were doing and what I think we need to continue to do.
Yeah.
But that question, I think we need to be asking ourselves across the board.
Absolutely.
And so I want to say thank you for presenting that to me, and I hope that we can use this opportunity, all of us as a community, to ask that question, because it's one where we really need to continue to stay vigilant. And as they were saying this time last year, this can't be just a moment; it needs to be a movement. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think the theme of accountability is something that is certainly present today, but I think that it's an opportunity for us as individuals and collectively to really make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable as we move forward. That's the only way. Even if you think about it as like your 9 to 5, your day-to-day, job, like there's accountability there. If you work with a team, there's accountability there to make sure that, at the end of the day, you're completing the task that you've set out to complete. So that's all it is.
Right, because, one of the things that we talked about earlier is this idea that, it's convenient and easy to get involved.
Yes.
When everyone's involved.
Yes.
And yet the hard work is when that moment drags into a long endeavor.
Yeah.
And so to stay committed, I think you're right. It does require that daily inventory. What have I done today?
I love Nantucket's history, in particular our Black history, for the simple fact that I didn't hear about it until I came here to Nantucket, and that still makes me a little salty, because to know this history is to have one of the missing pieces that so many of us need. And so this history, when you're hearing about not just Black whaling captains, but when you're hearing about, entire Black neighborhoods that were established in the 1700s,
Remarkable.
Businesses, homeowners, thriving. That is huge, and that's a game changer. And we're hearing this more and more as additional hidden history from around the country is starting to come out. But this right here in our community, to know that this is a part of our history, to know that this is something that we can be proud of. I'm cautiously optimistic, dare I say. I think that the caution comes in because too often we can look around us and in cities and towns and organizations and corporations, diversity, equity, and inclusion positions are created left and right. What then? And not just what then, but also, what about each one of us? What steps is each one of us taking? Because to think that because we have this new position that the work is done,
right,
or that the work is now on this individual
person, right,
or this department, No,
Yeah.
the work is just getting started, and it is not up to one individual or one department or one town to complete that work. If anything, we should all be excited to know that like we have a dedicated department now that like this is something tangible, but the work is just beginning. So each one of us really needs to continue to do that individual inventory and figuring out like, what am I doing? How can I contribute? I think that as a community, we can absolutely take steps to move forward with or without an individual or individuals being brought to justice. That being said, I don't think that moving forward requires becoming complacent about justice. We can move forward while also still seeing the importance of and fighting for true justice. There is a way to do that. Even if we want it to go away, even if we don't want to talk about it anymore, the issue that led to this in the first place, it's still under the surface, you know? And so not talking about it isn't going to resolve anything. It might make some people feel a little bit more comfortable in the moment, but long term, like it's doing all of us a huge disservice.
You're right. You know, when you're doing your 9 to 5 here, I don't mean your 9 to 5 work, which is extensive, which should be a podcast unto itself.
No one person or group has to do all the work. Do some of the work, you know, and when you can't do any more, there's going to be someone else there to grab that baton. I wish we didn't have to have these conversations,
Right.
you know. I wish this wasn't a thing, but it is, and so I'm grateful for the opportunity to use my voice and you know to have a platform of any, you know, size, but yeah, realistically, it's work. It is a bit of a burden. Not all burdens are all bad, but it's this is not all rainbows and butterflies. I'm trying to focus more on putting energy into creating the world that we want to live in instead of trying to destroy or dismantle the world that we don't want to live in. I think each one of us has a role to play, but for me personally, creating new is much more in alignment with who I am and the work that I want to do in the world.